Hello and welcome back into Live from the Plains. It has been a little minute, but we are back with you. I am Daniel Locke. This is Logan Fowler. Logan, how is your day going?
My day's going great. Can't ever complain with another day. Um, Getting into the home stretch of football, getting into basketball. So definitely a busy time.
Getting into
Also,
the home stretch of the semester.
yep, that was my next point was we are getting into November, which is very tough on a college kid.
Yeah, because or I don't have Friday classes. You have one class. So essentially, basically 1 week of classes left until Thanksgiving break. And then
Hmm.
after that, 2 weeks of classes and then winter break. And then it's our last semester of college. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to wish it away, but
I don't either.
at the same time, thank God.
Yeah. And every time that I catch myself thinking that, like, "Oh my, I just can't wait to get out of here." I always say like, "Okay, like don't wish it away," because there's gonna come a time, probably, maybe even just a year from now. I'm like, "Dang, I really wish I was back in college." Well,
Hmm.
hopefully I'll make it a little bit longer than that, before those feelings start creeping back. But you know, love this place, love this town, love this community, love this school, and I love what we get to do, and try to never take it for granted.
That's right. Very well said.
Yes, sir. So with that being said, we're gonna dive right into our SEC pick'ems. If you want to just kind of skip the doom and gloom today and go straight to the good stuff, there will be some basketball talk at the end of the show. So if you just want to skip ahead, you have my permission. But we didn't have a pick'em for last week, but the previous week, Logan made up a game. He was 2 games down going into the week. Now he's only 1 game. Um, I'm struggling to remember which game it was that you picked right that I didn't, and I've
Was it
already deleted
was
it.
it UCF in Florida? Maybe I can't
No,
remember.
it wasn't that.
That was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway, I am at 68-19. Logan is at 67-20, and we've got ourselves a ball game coming down to the stretch here.
Yes, sir. We're gonna.
And if we have a tiebreaker after the regular season, maybe we can just do like the conference championships or something. I don't know.
I'm gonna make some noise down the stretch here.
Well, there will be some movement this week. We have a different game, so we'll see what happens. But we'll just get right on into it. The first game of the week in the SEC slate, 11 a.m. Central Time on ABC and ESPN Plus. The Arkansas Razorbacks host the number 3 Texas Longhorns, who, in my opinion, are the best team in the SEC and up there for one of the best teams in college football, which makes sense as they're ranked number 3 in the country. But I would be very shocked if we're not watching Texas Longhorn football in January this year.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But with all that, I mean, all that being said, how many ranked wins do they have? I mean, they've had a cupcake schedule away from Georgia.
True. And they didn't
And
look good in that game.
yeah, they got blown out pretty much in that game. So I mean, it's still record wise, are they the best team in the SEC? Sure, but I just don't know if there's a top dog, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I am too. And I think we're going to have one of the most exciting kind of down the stretch seasons we've had in quite some time. And what a year to expand the 12-team playoff with just how many good teams there are.
Hmm. There's already been a lot of talk from the ESPN guys and the committee and all that on I can't there's an ESPN reporter that said, how can you leave a three-loss Georgia team out? And I'm like, oh, well, I mean,
Because they lost 3 games.
but they lost 3 games. I mean, they should have showed up when it mattered. Um, while they're still probably one of the best 12 teams in the country, you're still, even with 12 teams, we're still going to see somebody's being left out. That kind of
Yeah.
that kind of talk there at the end. So, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting.
So I'm going with Texas. I assume you are too.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Texas.
So we're going to skip over the Auburn game, which is the next one chronologically. We'll come back to that at the end. 12:30 p.m. Central Time on ESPN Plus and SEC Network Plus. The Kentucky Wildcats host the Murray State Racers. Probably a pretty simple one to pick. I'm going Kentucky.
Yeah, me too.
Sticking with games that probably aren't too hard to pick, 1 p.m. Central Time on ESPN Plus and the SEC Network Plus. The number 10 Alabama Crimson Tide hosts the Mercer Bears. Mercer is one of the top FCS programs this year. They lead the SoCon, but I don't think that they're going to have enough to get this one done.
No,
Bama.
Bama by a landslide.
Yeah. Now this one's interesting. 2:30 p.m. Central Time, ABC, ESPN Plus. The number 22 LSU Tigers, who got embarrassed last week and took quite a fall in the AP poll as a result of it. Um, they travel down to Gainesville, Florida to take on the Florida Gators in the swamp. Always a tough place to play. And this is one of those, you know, I get it's considered a rivalry just because they were just yearly SEC West, SEC East pair for so long. Um, I'm not sure if you were to ask an LSU fan or a Florida fan if they considered each other one of their top rivals, it'd probably be like maybe top three. I would say. I mean, LSU. I know that they consider Alabama their biggest rival, and Florida. It's definitely Georgia, then Florida State, then maybe LSU. Tennessee would be up there too, probably. It all just depends on who you ask after you get past that one for most teams. But I'm rambling. This one's tough to pick, but I said LSU and I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go with LSU too. I mean, I do think that they're still the better team despite what they put on the field last week. Because I mean, if you watched that Florida game last week, I mean, Scott Strickland and that administration over there in Florida, they have to be like regretting coming out with that public statement saying that Napier's their guy for the future still. Because I mean, Florida fans are they are done. They are so fed up with what's going on over there.
The
And
only person other than the University of Florida, apparently, who I think is still publicly behind Napier, it's got to be JD Piquel over at On 3. I've never seen somebody love on Billy Napier so much.
well, I mean, and it's a good point because what's this is second year, third year,
Two, three. This is his third season.
third season. I mean, yeah, he's had time to, recruit and get his own guys in there, and all those things. But I mean, this is one of the tougher schedules in college football, and I mean, he kind of just you. Yeah, you want to look competitive in these games, like it's like Texas last week. It was what 21-0 in the first quarter. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, I mean, he walked into just I mean, tough job to take. So, um, yeah, I'm still going to go LSU. Getting back to the pick 'em, uh, I just think they're overall the better squad, even though they got embarrassed last week.
Agreed, and that might just give them the fuel that they need. But we'll see. Um, let's see. Auburn plays at 11:45. That game should end about 3. Should get home about 5 o'clock. Yeah, we'll be home in time to catch the end of that one. In my opinion, these next two games are both interchangeable for the toughest one to pick this week. But 3:15 p.m. Central Time on the SEC Network. How a ranked matchup is an SEC Network game is just mind-boggling to me. But that just tells you how big the brands of LSU and Florida are in comparison.
Right.
But number 21 South Carolina hosting number 23 Missouri. Two scrappy teams
Hmm.
and two teams who, even though they're each having decent seasons, South Carolina probably better than expected this year, I would say. Missouri not quite as good as expected. A lot of that probably has something to do with Brady Cook getting hurt lately, and that's a deciding factor I think in this game. Did we ever figure out if he's good to go for this week or not?
I would assume so.
I
He's
think so.
played.
I haven't seen anything different.
Yeah.
I try to follow at least a couple beat reporters for every SEC team just so I can stay informed for what they've got going on, things like that when we talk about that. But yeah, I think
Um,
he's good to go. I haven't heard otherwise.
yeah, I mean, he's played in recent weeks. So, And if he's not, I hate to say this, but that Drew Pine, their backup quarterback, my goodness, he does not look good when he gets in there. So
No.
yeah, so I'm gonna go South Carolina in this one. Like you said, they're a scrappy bunch. Um, big big Shane Beamer guy. I kind of like what he's got going on over there. Their defense is pretty tenacious. Lenore Sellers over there on offense, and Rocket Sanders has just been, the past few weeks just running all over the field, just at will. So with this game being in Columbia, I'm gonna go with South Carolina.
Yeah, my gut says Missouri, so I'm going to stick with that. But who really knows? And I wish that this game switched place with the other SEC network game, which is we'll get to in a minute, but it's um, New Mexico State and Texas A&M. So really wish they could swap those around, but whatever. 6:30 p.m. Central Time on ABC and ESPN Plus. I think this is the game of the week in the SEC. Missouri, South Carolina is up there, and there's nothing wrong with number two, maybe even number three, depending on who you ask, between LSU and Florida, or even Texas, Arkansas. But anyways, back to the point. Number 12 Georgia Bulldogs got embarrassed last week on the road at Ole Miss. They return home and they have the number 7 Tennessee Volunteers. Our good friend and assistant sports editor over at the Auburn Plainsman, Grace Heim, is going to be at this game. She's a big Tennessee fan. I'm interested to know her thoughts on this one, but I don't know. I'm gonna make you pick this one for. Actually, no, you picked first on every game today. I don't want to keep putting that pressure on you, so I'm gonna go first on this one. I'm gonna go with Georgia, just because I feel like obviously they got embarrassed last week. Having the field stormed against you can't feel good. So I think that they want to get that bad taste out of their mouth. And really, what better of a chance than now? Um, this football team has shown what it can do with its back against the wall. It showed that against Texas a few weeks ago. So I believe that this team is. I don't think that there are 11 college football teams better than Georgia.
Yeah. Um,
So I think that's another thing that the AP gave them some bulletin board material.
right. Yeah. I mean, you kind of hit on it. They got embarrassed. Now their backs up against the wall. Not, that's a team that I would bet on in that situation. Obviously, if you're a Georgia fan, you really want to see Carson Beck clean up his sloppy play. He's throwing just interception after interception these past few weeks. So you definitely want to see that get cleaned up. Um, but with the game being in Athens, back against the wall, still, in contention for the playoffs. It'd be how wild would it be if Georgia, out of all teams, missed the first 12-team playoff? So I think that they'll handle business. Tennessee, they got a great defense. They've got the leading rusher in the SEC with what's Sampson.
Yeah.
Um, so they obviously have weapons. Um, But I do think that the Georgia defense is going to have an answer and a way to stop Nico Iamaleava, who in SEC play hasn't, he's looked like a freshman. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go with Georgia as well in this one.
So probably the easiest game to pick on, or one of the easier games on the slate to pick this week. 6:45 p.m. Central Time, SEC Network. Number 15, Texas A&M, New Mexico State. Texas A&M, not even really willing to spend a lot of time here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with A&M as well.
Okay, so that brings us back to back to the top. The second game to kick off this week. The Auburn Tigers, who sit at 3-6, host the ULM Warhawks, who sit at 5-4. One game away from clinching the right to go bowling, so that's worth noting for sure. Auburn needs to win out in order to go bowling, and yeah, that's It's do or die time for Auburn, and you need this one. Auburn's a 25-point favorite according to ESPN Bet. The over/under is set at 46.5. The money line is down 4,000 for Auburn and up 1,300 for ULM. So ESPN's analytics are giving Auburn a 92.6% chance to come out on top.
Yeah,
Tickets as low as $5 according to Vivid Seats.
that
So if you're an Auburn fan and you're near the area relatively, and it's been a minute since you've been out to a game, and all you really want to do is see the Tigers win without breaking the bank, what better weekend?
yeah,
Supposed to have relatively nice weather, I think. It's supposed to cool off a little finally. I think the rain's supposed to be out of here now. So, yeah. Um, I think Auburn would. I don't think it really matters if the stadium is packed or not. I think Auburn gets this one, but who really knows at this point? Hugh Freeze and the Tigers have done it before.
yeah,
So,
um, yeah, I was reading something, Patrick Bingham, the sports editor over at the Plainsman, he put in one of his prediction, picks, blurbs, whatever you want to call it. He's, Auburn is the more talented team, blah, blah, blah. But I am old enough to remember Auburn losing to New Mexico State. So, yeah, you can never be too sure, I guess, if you're an Auburn fan, especially this season with the way things are going. Obviously, I would expect Auburn to win this game. They obviously hold the clear, talent advantage over ULM. Um, just some interesting things to look for. Obviously, uh, the big question for Auburn leading up this one is who's going to trot out at quarterback to start off for the Tigers. Peyton Thorne in the player availability on Tuesday said, I'm good to go, got treatment. I'm feeling great. And then on Wednesday, Hugh Freeze countered that by saying, yeah, no, not as far along as I'd hoped with the shoulder injury. Um, definitely as of yesterday, which he was talking about Tuesday, the same day that Thorne made those remarks. So, as of yesterday, he was not ready to play. So, and just in case you have not seen, Peyton Thorne suffered a minor shoulder injury in the fourth quarter against Vanderbilt a couple weeks ago, and he was out of practice during the bye week. So yeah, it still remains, a big question as to who is going to trot out there for Auburn. I would assume that we get an availability report. I think at 6, 7 o'clock tonight.
mm,
Um, so we'll get some answers there. I would assume that he's probably going to have questionable written beside his name. Could lead up to it being a game time decision. But then obviously you look at Hank Brown. Probably the most likely guy to get the start if Thorne's not ready to go. And you've seen what he can do this season. Obviously, he didn't really get much time to kind of ease through the growing pains there in that Arkansas game. He got pulled in the second half, and we hadn't seen him since. I think he got some run there to hand off to Jarquez Hunter in the Kentucky game. But even if Peyton Thorne does get the start on Saturday, I would still expect Auburn to kind of get some run for some of those other guys, Hank Brown and even maybe Holden Gerner or Walker White. Both of those guys could play in each game left on the schedule and still obtain their red shirt status for 2025. And even before the it was known that that Peyton had the shoulder injury, people in the media were asking, "Hey, you've got 3 games left on the schedule. Are you planning on, the wins obviously are not there. Peyton Thorne's not playing bad football, but do
anymore.
you could get some, yeah, do you think you could get some guys some action there at that quarterback spot? So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see who all gets some run there. I wouldn't expect 4 guys to get some playing time. That's
No.
just not going to happen in a college football game. But I do think that and while I'm not sure if it's going to happen, Auburn fans definitely want to see Walker White in action.
Yeah.
So be interesting to see, what happens on that front.
I think if Walker White's going to get into a game this year, I think this is definitely the one. I meant to point this out, but ULM is on a 3-game skid coming into this game, and 2 of the 3 haven't even been close. They got blown out by Texas State last week, so that's a thing.
Is
So
General is he playing?
I hope so.
I think. I mean, I think he is. I guess we can look on that availability report, or that's just an SEC thing, isn't it?
There's
Yeah,
got to be a way to find out.
no, we can figure that out. Yeah, they started off pretty hot. What's gosh, what's his name? The coach that
I
was at
can't remember.
UAB. He was
I wrote
offensive
it.
coordinator at UAB last year, and now it's. I love how we cover these guys throughout the whole week, and then we get on here and can't even remember whoever's name we're
Yeah,
talking
that
about.
happens.
Anyway, up for Coach of the Year awards there after a pretty hot start. But yeah, like you said, they've been struggling here recently. Another thing to kind of look for, not a whole lot of interesting, um, angles to take towards this game. I think that it's probably going to be handled, I would think, pretty early on. But Jarquez Hunter's 87 yards away from reaching the 1,000-yard mark. With uncertainty at the quarterback spot, you would expect Auburn to kind of rely on their run game. So that could be something to look for. Jarquez Hunter reaching the 1,000-yard mark for the first time in his career in an orange and blue jersey. So, you got that. And then obviously we have already talked about Walker White a little bit and the quarterbacks, but, this could be a good chance for Hugh Freeze and that staff to kind of get some, other freshmen some time out there on the field. Auburn leads the nation in snaps played by, freshmen. So it's not like they um, gotten any of those young guys out on the field. But there's still guys like I said, Walker White, DeAndre Carter, Bryce Kane, Joe Phillips. I'm sure I'm missing a couple of guys in there, but guys like that could get some run if
Yeah,
Auburn has a sizable lead going into that fourth quarter.
yeah. And that's kind of the thing. What I was going to say a minute ago about Walker White is if he gets on the field, it's either you know really really good for Auburn and they took care of business, or they're got blown out by Louisiana-Monroe.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Um, but like you said, kind of, I think it would have worked out better in Auburn's favor on the schedule if that Texas A&M game had been this week
Hmm.
and they got to play ULM next week, because then you get to play that really important game against Texas A&M coming off the bye week, and then you've got the supposed to be, well, last year it wasn't supposed to be a cleanup game before the Iron Bowl,
Hmm.
and so if Auburn could pull out that win over Texas A&M, that upset at home, then do what they were supposed to do against ULM, that puts you at 5-6 going into the Iron Bowl. And I don't like Alabama's Mercer this week. I forget who they have next week,
Just look it up real quick.
but I mean, if that was the case, it could be possible that Auburn catches them at a good time.
Yeah, they got Oklahoma next week, which
Ooh,
earlier in the year that looked like it could have probably been a pretty tough matchup because they got to go to Norman.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect Oklahoma to give Bama too much trouble.
no, no. Hmm. Yeah, I made it 25 minutes where that happened for the first time. Okay, so now that we've kind of got that out of the way, let's talk about some superlatives here. Auburn is currently 3-6. Let me ask you, what is your current um percentage expectation of Auburn to win the Iron Bowl if it was played tomorrow or Saturday?
I will say 20%,
Okay,
and
20%.
the reason that
Um,
I'm 20% is because it's the Iron Bowl.
Sure.
I mean,
So we got you at 20%. Um, that's probably about where I am now. If Auburn can do what they're supposed to do against ULM and then upset Texas A&M and go into that game on a 2-game winning streak, fresh off an upset, and obviously Alabama's going to beat Mercer. Then let's say that they still beat Oklahoma, but that's just a tough, hard fought, gritty game. They get pretty beat up during it, and they have to come home to Tuscaloosa and play an Auburn team that's riding a 2-game winning streak and a chance to play it in a bowl game on the line. Now, what's your level of expectation, or what's your percentage chance of Auburn winning? Does that
40.
do anything
I'm
for it? 40?
yeah, I mean, I guess riding a wave of momentum going in off, 2 wins. Alabama kinda struggling the week before, maybe has a kinda see an uptick in that percentage, but I just Auburn, um, I just don't see them going in there. I'm not very confident in a Auburn win in Tuscaloosa this year.
Yeah. That's probably about where I'm at. 20. Everything goes in their favor. Get up to 40. So yeah, but like you said, kind of a should just be a routine game for Auburn this week. Obviously, crazier things have happened. You don't have to look too far back in Auburn football history to find one.
Mm-mm.
So, with that being said, let's move across the street from Jordan Hare Stadium to Neville Arena, a place that's just much happier right now. We haven't spoken with you since Auburn upset Houston, basically on the road, and jumped 6 spots in the AP poll from number 11 to number 5. And Auburn is a top 5 win under its belt 3 games into the season.
Yeah.
And this
Um,
was one that when I was kind of thinking about my preseason predictions for Auburn basketball, I was not confident in Auburn's ability to go to Houston and win. Not really anything against Auburn. It's just hard to win games like that. Especially once I heard about that nonsense that happened Friday. My level of confidence for Auburn to win went from about 40 to about 20.
yeah. So here's one thing that I'm just not gonna do with this Auburn team, and that's say that they don't have a chance to win any given
No.
game. I don't care where they're playing, who they're playing against. They will have a chance to win any given game on their schedule.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, do I think Auburn's going to win every game on their schedule? Absolutely not. Still one of the tougher or toughest non-conference schedules in program history. But and I'm not saying that Auburn's not going to get blown out in a game or two, but just Auburn team is deep. They have weapons at every spot on the floor. Chaney Johnson is stepping up into that role at that 4 spot. I mean, just you couldn't have asked for for much more improvement from him so
No,
far.
he's no doubt Auburn's most improved player so far.
Yeah, and Bruce talked about it last night in the presser, and some people might kind of raise their eyebrow at this, but Janai Broome, man, he's improved. I mean, how could
Mhm.
you improve upon being an All-American selection last year? Well, I mean, this guy, I mean, you look at him last night in the second half of last night's game, or well, Wednesday night's game. I guess this will come out Friday morning against Kent State. And then you look at him in the second half against Houston, and he just took those games over. That
Yeah.
was Janai Broome's basketball game, and no one was going to stop him. So I mean, this yeah, like I said, this team is deep. They are very well coached. Obviously, they're very senior heavy, veteran squad that's been in a bunch of different places, bunch of different high level games. And another point that I like to make is last night Auburn and Kent State. They're actually one of the smaller teams in the nation. Um, but Auburn had their way down low with Kent State last night, and that with a they went 6 of 24 from 3-point land last night. So you're cold shooting the ball. Nothing's falling from deep. Miles Kelly, Denver Jones, Tahad, the guys who are Chad Baker, Mazzara, the guys who are typically lighting it up from deep. They all go cold from 3-point land last night, and you still find a way to win by what was it, 23 points. Just very scrappy team at times. In last night's game against Kent State, it didn't look very promising. Got off to a super fast start, and then the end of the first half and the beginning of the second half just didn't look too good. But like I said, they still find a way to just absolutely dominate. So it's going to be, I mean, this Auburn basketball team is going to be fun to watch throughout the season, and I'm ready to see what they look like in some of these other non-conference games.
I would agree, and I think that'll be fun to watch for sure.
Yeah.
So, North Alabama on Monday night, and is that the last game before they go to Maui? I think it
Mm-hmm.
is. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then at Maui they'll have at least 2 games, right? Probably 3
Right,
if they
and
win.
those 3 are potentially against a top 10 Iowa State, a top 15 North Carolina. I think they're 10. Oh, that's pretty cool. A
Yeah, it does it for you. It doesn't ever do it for me. Oh well.
I think they're, I don't know off the top of my head. I know they're a top 15 squad right now, North Carolina, and then UConn, another top 10 team. So
So they could have 4 games out there.
no, that's 3.
Oh, okay.
Start off with Iowa State.
Got it. I'm sorry.
But I mean, you talk about a daggum slate right there, man. I mean, whew, that's all of that in a matter of 3 day span. That's tough. But yeah,
They will come back from Maui knowing what they are.
right, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, no, you mentioned North Alabama, and I hadn't really had time to kind of look at them and study up on
I
them
haven't I haven't
yet.
touched
But
it.
I do know that they are undefeated, 3-0 right now, and they're one of the better. Um, what D1 lower D1. Anywho, they're riding a wave of momentum coming into Neville. Do I expect them to come in and beat Auburn? No, but yet again, I mean, same as Vermont, same as Kent State, still not another team you can overlook if you're Auburn.
No, definitely not. And yeah, this could be this is the making to be a pretty exciting year.
Yeah,
This could be a better year than the 2021-2022 season.
yeah. I mean, this team, while they don't have a Jabari Smith um, type talent, what that team lacked is what this team has, and that's depth and firepower all across the roster. You know,
Mhm.
um, so yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man.
Yeah. I can't wait to get to cover this. I think it's going to be really, really fun. And I think that this team's definitely capable of winning a double.
I agree.
But it'll be tough because I think there were 6 or 8 teams, SEC teams ranked this week in the AP poll, and then a couple others receiving votes. I wrote about it on Monday. But yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch.
Hmm.
So I think that's going to about do it here, unless you have anything else to say.
I'm all good.
Cool. Well, you can find my written work at Auburn Tigers on SI.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Daniel J. Locke, or you can follow me on Instagram at the Daniel Locke if you so choose. Logan?
Yep, you can find my written work with 1819 News and the Auburn Plainsman. You can give me a follow on X or Twitter at Logan F. Fowler.
Awesome. Well, we will be speaking to you again on Sunday. Ideally for Auburn, their bowl chances will still be alive. Maybe not. You'll just have to wait and see, as will be the case for us. But we'll be sprinkling in more basketball coverage from here on out. So that gives you something to look forward to. All right. Well, this has been Live from the Plains. I've been Daniel Locke. That's been Logan Fowler. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will speak with you again soon.